I've had this idea of an easy project kicking around in my head, and I want to give it a try. I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know how it's going to look, but I'm going to start, and I'm going to just kind of roll off in my head. I'm not going to draw it out. I'm not going to do anything but just make it. So if you've watched my first video, you see that project was pretty easy. This one's even easier. So let's see how it comes out. It's kind of a mystery. Got this project I've been working on for a couple weeks, and sometimes you just want to quit and do something different for a while. I got to put a bottom in the drawer, and I got to do some finish work. So I just about got the door fitting. So maybe we'll do some easy checkerboards. This one wasn't too easy, but I've got an easy way to make them without a drawer and sides. Maybe we'll do that next. But on this project here, I need to find some wood. So I think I'll just go over to the wood pile here and see what I got to pick. There's some soft maple. I don't know. I don't want to use anything expensive. There's quarter sawn oak, quarter sawn sycamore, that piece of pine. I think I saw a piece here I think I'm going to use. I'm going to use this piece right here. Okay, after I've chosen the piece of wood I want, I get that out, and I have to get it sized up. So the first thing I do is I cut it into shorter pieces. I kind of measure and get an idea. Then I run it through the joiner to get a nice straight edge on it. And that'll be my first working edge. And once I get it working edge, I'll run it through the sander and get it down to about the thickness I want. What I usually do, I'll make my dado joint in a scrap piece of wood and then save that. And I'll bring my thickness down to something real close to that dado joint. My dado joint is about 0.47, so I bring it down to about 0.50, half, almost exactly a half an inch. I can go a little bit smaller. Then I cut a corner, an end off, so that I have a nice square point to start with. I'll take my pencil and mark that edge, that corner, and that's what I'll work off of. That's how I get started. Okay, I got those, got a nice corner on all three of them. Nice straight edge there. Nice straight edge and a nice corner. Let's take a check on that. Okay. So I'm going to make two different bookends, two different styles. And I have a problem. I'm not sure if they'll be heavy enough, but that's what we're going to do. I've never made them before, so if they're not heavy, I got an idea to stop them from sliding, but 6.5 inches tall, we're going to make it. I like that height. 6 1/2. And as far as width goes, 6.5 inches wide. So I kind of got the idea in my head. So I go 6.5 inches wide, 6.5 inches tall. We'll get that cut up, have all pieces. We need this back 6.5, and make the base 5 3/4. So first I'll cut the 6.5, and then I'll cut 5 3/4, and that'll give me the dado, so it's 6.5 square. Alright, I got one of the dados marked on the longer ones. I got all my numbers. I'm going to match. Then I'm going to put a dado right down the center. So let's set up the dado blade, and let's put those dados in real quick. Alright, I want my blade to stick up a 1/4 inch. I got a 1/4 inch drill bit. Put the blade at the high side and tighten that down. Then my 4 dados are going to go flush with the end. Line that up, make sure it's square. Run it on a piece of wood, make sure it's sacrifice. Lock everything down. We'll just clean these up a little bit. All right. That's what I got, and after looking at it, that's going to be like that, and I think the base is too long. I'm going to cut the base down to 4.5, but before I do that, I'm going to make a dado down the center of each one. So I'll move the dado to the center to 3 inches center. And then I'll run a dado here and here, then I'll cut them shorter. The only thing you got to make sure of is when you run that dado, you put a mark, and that mark goes to the fence. Because you may not be exactly center, and if the mark goes to the fence on both of them, when you put them together, they'll match. They don't have to be exactly centered, but if you don't want this to be off a little bit like that. So I'll put them dados in. I'll cut that off at 4.5. And we'll see how that goes. We'll go from there. Alright, I got my piece laid out where I'm going to put the dado dead center. I've got the number here, which means the number's going to go up against the fence. So we'll set this up to right on the center there. Alright, I got the dados in and I got them cut shorter. It wasn't a mistake. It's just practice. I got my 2 number 4s and I'll set them there. Alright, my wood's a little bit thicker than the dado, just a touch. So what I'll do is I'll just take a piece of sandpaper and just touch the edges on it. Kind of make a little bit of a point, and it'll fit in there snugly. I don't like to fit it too snug. You end up breaking the piece of wood. You end up with a crack. So I just hit it with a little piece of sandpaper and I put it together, and I'm going to put a ruler corner to corner. And this way works okay if you're not going to route the base and the back. I probably should have done this later, but I really made a mistake, and I touch on it a little bit in the second part. But if you're not going to route the edges, it works just fine. If you're going to route it, you should do it last, because the size is a little bit different. You got to cut a little bit off. I cut this on the bandsaw. It's just easier to cut that strong angle than on the table saw. You can do it either way. Then I just hit it with the sander, and that about finishes up that piece. So I've got all 3 pieces finished and ready to go. Alright, I've got the pieces all made up. I've got them sanded. I've got one mocked up to see what it looks like. In the next video, I'm going to do a little bit of a design element to make these pieces unique. If you like a mission style, you can just leave it like this. But I want to make it a little bit different with the idea that's been rolling in my head. So if you want to follow along as I finish these up, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button, and you'll watch these get finished.